Okay.
Not to give you the cameras.
We're on the Mishnah on Yud Gimel Amud Aleph. Shchita Sevit Kichavim. You have if using a Koran, it's going to say Shchitas Nachri probably. Can we thank Hashem? Be able to learn Torah every day. It's supposed to be learning. We should have the Beis Hamikdash immediately. So it starts off like this: Shchita Sevit Kichavim Nevela Matam Masa. The Shchita of a non-Jew, an idolater. Can't say an idolater because an idolater is going to switch things. But a Shchita of a non-Jew is nevela. It's not kosher. It's going to be as if there's no shechita there, and therefore, if it's not shechted, then it's going to give off the impurity, just like a carcass, right? A dead carcass gives off the impurity, and it's metam of masa. That's the rule of a nevela, is that when you not under an oihel, but only when you carry it, only when you touch it, when you lift it, it will give you tumah. It will make a person tameh. A more severe tumah is a tumah of a corpse, or tumah of takruvas of a zarah, according to one opinion, is if you're under the same tent as you'll become tameh. So here we're saying it's just nevel. It's not avodah zarah. It's just not kosher. What's the makar that it shouldn't be kosher? That they quote a tesefta, the first tesefta of Chullin. You have a traditional Gemara. So, back of a traditional Gemara has a tesefta. It's missing. No. It's crazy. Yeah. It's gonna be in here, huh? Oh, yes, it's tesefta. Yeah. So the first tesefta says, "Kol ksherim l'shchet afilu kuti afilu Yisrael afilu Yisrael shehim redasei lavid zchachavim." This is the first tesefta. Anyone can shecht. A yid, a Yisrael that didn't have a bris, even a yid that was a mummer. However, shchitas avid kechavim is psula. Shchitas kaif, monkey, is possible. Where do we know this from? Zavachta v'achalta. Leisha zavach avid kechavim, leisha zavach hakaif. It has to be someone that's commanded on the mitzvah. If he's commanded on the mitzvah of shchita, then he can shech. A guy was never commanded on the mitzvah of shchita, he can't shech. That's the makar for this. We've been learning the whole time akuti and this. That's because we're accepting that they're yidden. They were never commanded to shech, then they can't shech. Amazing. The Gemara says, straight away,
There's a kuf because there's no command, because there's no das.
There's no command. Because those people that don't have das, we were saying that if you have oimid al gabay or a chedem royim, it's kosher. Here we're not accepting that. Nevela in Yisra Hanala, you only said that it's a nevela, but you didn't say that it's asr ba'ana when he shechts. Mantana, who's the one that holds that a regular guy that does something is not for avodah zarah? Amar Rabbi Barabba, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Blake Rabbi Eliezer. We know it's not Rabbi Eliezer. I'm not saying who it is, but I know it's not. It's not Rabbi Eliezer. The Rabbi Eliezer, Amar Stam Machshavas Avedis Kechavim, Lavedis Kechavim. Probably in the corner, it would probably say Stam Machshavas Nachri, Lavedis Kechavim. A plain thought of a non-Jew is for idolatry. I took my class to a farm. Day on the farm was living this carpenter that makes sculptures. Anyway, the kids they say, "Can I have that? Can I have it?" You know, so kid walked away with this pelican sculpture of this pelican, a wooden sculpture. I said, "What do you think this is worth?" He says, "Well, maybe 150,000." He says, the carpenter said. So you go to Art Basel, you pay for a banana on the wall for 50,000. So this has got to be 150. Anyway, so I don't know. I said, I'll be the Zara. said, "What do you worship anything? Are you religious?" He said, "Only the Almighty, only the Almighty." Okay, so he came back to the yeshiva. He asked Rabbi Shapiro, "Can I have it? It's just a decoration. It's not clearly not Avodah Zarah." He said, "Yeah." Okay, so how do we know that the thoughts of a non-Jew are automatically, not automatically, but minastam, by default, are for Avodah Zarah? According to Rabbi Lezer, it's for Avodah Zarah. So our Mishnah can't be Rabbi Lezer. Rabami Amar Hachiktani. Shchitas Evikhav Nevela. It's really probably supposed to be Shchitas Nachri. The Shchita of a guy is a Nevela. Hadamin. But if it's a min means a heretic. That's Avodas Kechav. That's different. So you have to be medayik from the Mishnah. Not that how did Reb Chia Barabba do this differently? He's learning our Mishnah says I'm not sure if he's arguing. Looks like they could be saying the same thing, him and Rabbi Yechon, him and Reb Chia Barabba and Rabbi Yechon. Tanina laha de Tana Rabbanon. What we learned in the Mishnah, based on our diak, was also taught in a brayso. Shchitas min, la'avedis kechavim. Of a min, if a heretic shechs, it's meant for idolatry, which means it's going to be metame ba'oihel. That's the difference if it's metame ba'oihel. See, what we were just doing here is it was clear it was only metame b'masa. Only gives off tuma with carrying it, not under a tent. Why? Because it's not for Avodah Zarah. If it would be for Avodah Zarah, then it would give off even in a tent. It would give off the tuma. So now the Gemara says that the Brisa says that if a guy shechts, it's for Avodah Zarah, which means that it's going to give off a much bigger tuma than just an avela. Pitai, a guy's bread, is considered paskuti. Not allowed to eat it. Yainai, his wine, is automatically yayin esach. Svarav, what is a svarav? Even his Tanakh, the Sefer Torah, is Sifrei Kusman, are like books of Avodah Zarah, probably sorcerers or something. Some is usually a sorcerer. Pireisav and his fruits or tzevalim is tevel.
What's heavy is here is that we're supposed to burn it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only place I've ever come across that we actually will burn. They say for Torah.
Right.
Oh.
Yeshaimrim, and some say that banav mamzerim. His children are mamzerim. Why are his children mamzerim? Because with the Goyim, they have all types of crazy ideas in marriage, and they give their wives to other people to live with. Tanakama, Tanakama didn't say that. They didn't mention anything about banav mamzerim, that the children are going to be mamzerim. Because Ishtay Leimifkad, the Tanakama says that the Goyim don't do that. They don't just give their wives away. They're not makbid on who they live with. They don't do that. It's a machlaikas. Depends which Goyim. It depends. Okay. Amar Mar. One of the things we mentioned in the Brisa was Shchitas Nachri, Shchitas Eved Kavim is Nevela. V'nei Hashem Aminu. 1 second. Maybe he's a min. Amar Nachman Amar Abba Baravua. Ein minin ba'umais. There's no heretics amongst the umais. I have the word of the kechavim. I don't know what it's doing there. Ein min ba'umais. Ein minin ba'umais. No, I have to add in.
But that goes against what we just read previously. She said that there's min by Jews and non-Jews, but he was referring here to just Jews. I just read that in the English. On the previous page. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, but we learned before that there's a difference between a regular non-Jew and a min. Now we said if a guy shechs, then it's okay. It's like doesn't give off the tumah as if he's a min. So 1 second, but maybe he is a min. It says no, the guy aren't minim. The Gemara says but we know that they are. The same ain't raved umais or maybe of the kechavim minim. The majority are not heretics. There must have been different types of non-Jews back then. Some of them were heretics, and some were just non-Jews.
They minim.
Huh?
They minim.
The Harvey Minim. Harvey Minim. But we see that there are. We say no. Then that's the majority are not. There are some, but it's not the majority. It looks like that even if he's an idolater, but it still doesn't mean that he's a min. What would the difference be between a min and an idolater? I think the min is taking the Torah and he's corrupting the Torah. The idolater doesn't ignores the Torah. I think the min is worse. Where
sounds like shalom, badash, not having das, and
like the
world.
Huh. I mean the guy, the Nachri, the Avid Avodah Zarah, is not a min.
No, he's just doing this thing. The other guy's really into it. Lahabdo, difference between someone davening with kavana or just by route saying words. He's doing it, but it's not as I doing it.
See, this is very yeah. We're gonna mention that in a moment, but it's a little confusing because the language over here is everything is censored. So I think a lot of the words are nachrem instead of avdik kechavim. Ein roiv nachrem or ein roiv umais minim. Because I think really an mamash and avdik kechavim and a min should probably be the same thing. Min zeha adik baved kechavim min yisrael chamer mi mumer laved kechavim shemin adik bav chavim. Okay. Amar Rab Chia Os.
No, put your lords.
Yeah, that's what's coming up. The Gemara says, "Savar laki hadam Rab Chia barabam Rab Yechanan." You must hold like what Rab Chia barabba says in the name of Rab Yechanan, that Nachrim shebechutzlar is lavav the kachavim. The goyim in outside of the land of Israel are not really idolaters. They're just keeping the minig. They're just traditional. Yeah?
Yes.
A lot of people ask about these things. Like,
as I said, it's just
is a kratzmach tree and all of this, like Avodah Zarah. So according to this, it's just the minig avisayim b'yadayim. Just their tradition. They don't know anything about it.
I was listening this morning to Rabbi Gordon. She changed the Cohen joke to the Levi joke. The Levi wants to be pay all this money to become a Levi, and he pays in the end. My father with this same kind of thing. Yeah, it's just practice because the parents practice tradition.
Amar Yosef Bar Minyumi Amar Nachman Ein Minin Be'umais. Again, it has the word Avdik Kechavim. I think there's a censor. The censor took out umais and put. You should just say Ein Minin Be'umais. The umais are not minim. Lamai. What halacha are you referring to? Are you coming to tell me that the shchita is not that the shchita should not be considered mitame be'oihel? Hashta shchitas min Yisrael amit asura. No, the opposite. If you want to say that that the shchita should be mutter, I don't know why you can even have a havamina like that. How can you have a havamina that the shchita should be mutter? Only those that are. Let's see. Hashta shchitas min Yisrael amit asira. If it's a shchita of a Jew, that's a heretic. He said that it's aster. David kechavim mibai. If he's an idolater, for sure it's aser. Ela l'mayridin. So there would be no chiddush in that. What was Rabbi Yosef Bar Minyumi saying in the name of Rav Nachman? It must mean that he wants to say that you don't have to take a non-Jew and put him down into a pit. It says a min. It says mayridim ma'isam labar. You put them in. You tell them to go into a pit, and then you take away the ladder. It says, but a regular non-Jew is not a min. Regular non-Jew, you don't have to do that. could get us into trouble.
But a Jew, you can.
Especially if they're good rock climbers.
No.
Says here in the comment, perhaps then you would say that Reb Nachman meant that one may push only a Jewish man into it.
Oh, so 1 second. So now the Gemara goes on and says, "Hashad the Yisrael may read in David Kechav mi bai." Oh, this would be if he is an adalit, if he is a min. So this whole thing was saying, "Ein minin ba'umais." They're not minim. It says, okay, so yeah, but a Yisrael, that's a min. You do bring him down. For sure you bring him down. So what are you telling me? It's not a pshita. It's for sure you should. It's the opposite. For sure you should bring him into the pit. Amar Ravukah bar Chama lekabel mem karban. What it means is that you're allowed to accept the karban from a non-Jew, even if the non-Jew is a heretic. The Tanya was started in a brayso, mikam v'le kolchem. It says, from you accept karbanas, but not, it's only from you, but not all of you. L'hitziasam mumar, actually the original text said, l'hitziasam shumad. They exclude someone that, in the Quran it has, whenever you see anything about Avodah Zarah or anything, Nachrim, anything you look in the Quran, they have the original manuscripts. So all of our Gemaras are all censored. It says, to exclude the one that got baptized. You don't accept the karban from him. Mikem, then it says from you. But when it comes to a guy, we accept from all guyim equally, even if he's a religious guy. We don't make any distinctions by guyim. It's only by a yid that we're going to make a distinction. Is he this type of yid or is he a meshumid? But by a guy, we'll accept from the Pope.
We're accepting their animal to be makriv. We're not accepting an animal that was makriv by them.
No. If they send the carbon to the Beis Hamikdash, we offer it. Yeah. We offer it, yeah. The other guy that converted, so when he sends a carbon, we send it back. Say, sorry, we can't accept your carbon. Maybe that's not the pshat. Maybe what it means to say is Yisrael mitzadiki kabel mirashay leita kabel. Maybe what it really means is that by a yid, if you're a righteous yid, then we'll accept. If you're not a righteous yid, we won't accept. But by goyim, we won't accept at all. You're telling me it means that we always accept. Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe by a guy we don't accept anything. You say, I'm sorry. This is only for Jewish goats and sheep. It says Leisal Kadakta. That's impossible. You can't think that. The Tanya says Ish. The pasuk says Ish. It says Ish. Ish is coming to include non-Jews as opposed to Adam. Adam is only Jews. Ish is including non-Jews. Matam Aleimer Ish. Why is it saying Ish? Matam Aleimer Ish. The Rabbi said Kechavim Shenayjim Nedarim B'Nedavis Ki Yisrael. It's coming to include that a non-Jew is allowed to make pledges to bring sacrifices just like a Jew. See clearly that a non-Jew is allowed to. And since we don't divide between the non-Jews, that means every non-Jew is allowed to send, even if he's a mamish a galach.
You're saying the word Adam is Jew only?
Yeah, because we have a phrase, Atem Kriyim Adam. You.
But then what about Nasa? All men came.
Yeah.
So doesn't that contradict?
Nasa Adam.
It's the ones that count.
Must have been that Adam must have been a Jew.
It's the ones that count, Dr. Stein. You know what I mean?
So you're saying so everyone came from one Jew? I thought everyone just came from one.
I guess what it means is that when it comes to the mitzvahs, it says Adam ki yakriv, or because it says Adam, so that would include only a Jew. It has to say somewhere else Ish to include also the non-Jew.
What did you mumble over there on the side peanut gallery, sir?
By the way, they can make pledges, so they can also delay the collection. Pledge doesn't get paid, right?
What?
Pledge.
Pledge. The only time I use pledge is when I'm cleaning the wood.
Matama b'masa, and it contaminates with lifting it up. We're talking about if a non-Jew shechts, you say that the shechita is not valid, and it also contaminates if you lift it up and not in a tent. So it's pshita. Of course, it contaminates. Given the nevela matama masa, that's the rule by a regular nevela. An animal that died, a carcass, is matama b'masa. Amarava chiktani. Rava wants to say. Rava says this is what the Mishnah means. Zu matama b'masa v'yesh la'acher shematama fila ba'ayal. I want to say the emphasis was not that this is matama b'masa. It's what's implied by it, that it's only this that's matama b'masa, but there's something else that's even worse. That's going to be matama ba'ayal. Be'ezu, what is matama ba'ayal? Zu takruvas avedus kechavim. This if someone brought an animal for mamish an idol, that's going to be matama even ba'ayal. Good. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, which we're about to quote shortly. Ikadamri Amar Rava, those that say the Rava says hachik that this is what it's referring to. Zu matama b'masa v'yesh l'acher shikazu shematama masa ve'ina matama ba'ayal. That this is contaminates with carrying, with lifting up. That there's other things that not contaminate. That other things that also contaminate with lifting. I mean, it's saying this plus. What is that? And it's not matama ba'ayal. Zutakruvas avitzcham like Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, not like Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. Because Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira's view is takruvas avidazara. If you're in the same house with an offering that was brought to an idol, the person becomes tamei, even if you didn't touch it. Minayin letakruvas, the tiny was started in the Brayso. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira says, Minayin letakruvas avitzcham shematama ba'ayal. Where do we see that a takruvas of avodah zarah that gives off impurity in the tent? Shenemar, it says in Tilim, by yitzamdu lebal pa'ar, they attach themselves to Baal Pa'ar, which was the name of an idol. V'yechlu zivchei mesim, and they ate the sacrifices to the dead, or the dead sacrifice. Ma meis mitam ba'al. It does a comparison here between dead and offerings to idols, just like a corpse. Mitam ba'al gives off impurity in the tent. After kruvitz avetz chachavim mitam ba'al. It's interesting that we would learn a halacha from pasuk in Tilim. Based on that pasuk, it's coming to tell me that it gives off that impurity. Okay. New Mishnah. Sheichet Balayla. Someone does the shechita at night. Chenasuma, shachat, or the blind person that shechted. Shechita sikshera. It's still kosher. Shechted at night, or if he's blind, it's kosher. Now that tells me all b'diavad. Sheichet, diavad in lechatchila lai. It says ha sheichet, someone that shechted. It didn't say you may. It says someone that did. That means it's only b'diavad. L'chatchila you shouldn't. V'ramini, but we have a problem, a contradiction. It says leilam shechtem bein b'yem bein b'layla bein b'shagag bein b'shasfina. You can shecht by day, by night, whether on the top of the roof or on top of a boat. So what's going on over here? It seems l'chatchila that you're allowed to. Amar pap b'shavuka kenegda. Yeah, l'chatchila you're allowed to if you have light. If you turn the lights on, you have a torch, a lantern. Amravashi dekanami, I'll prove it to you. Diktani hasam dumidiyam hachak dumidasuma. See, when do we say it's only b'diavad after you did it that it's kosher? That's it, like in our Mishnah. Someone shechs by night or a blind person that shechs. See, over there's no light, there's no lantern. So those were all b'diavad, just like the blind person, comparing to the blind person. Over here, we said whether by day, whether by night, comparing it to the day. Just like by the day there's light, also by night there's light. That's the chatchila you can shech. Yeah? Shema Mina, we see that this is taka the way it is, that if there's light, you can shech. Today they shecht in the morning, very early morning, 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock. The shechtim have this very early morning. I'm not sure why, but that's how they do it.
So why don't we have that? Why do we have to wait, Mishiyak here? Why can't we just put the light on and say, "Oh, hi, Rabbi, let's go down in chakras at 4 a.m."
So you have to see what the source is. What's the reason why it's not kosher by night. The things that we're doing, l'chatchila loy, Rashi says, l'chatchila loy yishchet balayla shem yishchet ruba v'hu yada. Rashi says maybe you won't shech the right amount. You won't shech the majority that you need. I wrote last time around when we learned this, I guess 7 years ago. I wrote, or maybe before, Shema Yachled, that the Rashba writes that maybe you'll do chalada, you put the knife under the skin instead of
I heard you said maybe before. I heard that.
in badak miyad.
Not really done that.
They have I wrote on the side also, there's a machlekes between Reb Shlomo Kluger, the Marsham, a sheikh is allowed to have glasses, because it says a summa, a blind person shouldn't shech. So the Reb Shlomo Kluger in Tuftan Vadas, he writes that if he can only see with his glasses, he's considered blind.
Wow.
So he shouldn't shecht. And the Marsham was a more makel. He said that no, he could see. That means he can see, not he can't see. Okay.
What
Next.
if he has one eye and not two eyes without glasses?
Yeah, not sure. It's only a summa. One eye is still good.
So it's not a summa.
Not a summa, no.
It's interesting because in legal law, a guy can get a parking, to say for being blind in one eye. But by the Gemara, he's not even blind. He wouldn't be not allowed to get that parking.
No, 1 second. If legally he would be considered blind, then how could he even get a license?
No, I know. No, because he's blind in one eye.
I understand. But obviously they hold blind
He
in
can
one
drive,
eye.
but
Obviously they hold blind in one eye is not a summa, because they gave him a license.
Yeah, but they give him the disabled
They would give him
thing.
the disabled thing even if he had a limp.
You can have they give you a disabled list for a Ferrari. Every Ferrari I ever see is always in the disabled parking list.
I've seen on the beach guys come out of some guys. Well, never mind. Never mind.
Okay.
No, I told
Sheichet b'Shabbos, B'Yom Kippurim, af b'shem eschai b'nafshe shchitas k'sheira. Someone shechs on Shabbos. There's a lot going on here. Someone shechs on Shabbos or on Yom Kippur, even though he's chayiv kares, right? It's quite an avera. But it says even b'mezid. It asks if he shechs b'mezid, then he's a mumar, and you're not allowed to eat the shechita of a mumar. You learned that before. So Tosfos gives one answer. He says a mumar is if he does it before hesya. Here he did it b'tzina. He did it and he didn't want anyone to see. And also Tosfos gives another teretz that just because he did it once doesn't mean he's a mumar. Yeah, that's amazing.
Like Rashi's comment, Rashi says he did it, but he was going to eat it raw, like he liked, raw meat, like meat sushi.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah. Okay. So the Gemara now says like this: Amar Rav Huna. Huna says Darash Chia Barav Mishmei Derav. Chia Barav says the name of Rav Asur B'Achila L'Yayma. He said the shechita is kosher, but you can't eat it on Shabbos. You have to wait. Even if you're going to eat it raw. Even if you're going to eat it raw, you can't eat it on Shabbos.
That's like what we learned in Be'er. Be'er should know the
yeah, exactly.
and all those things.
Exactly. That's what the Gemara is going to suggest. Benas ben Chavraya l'meimar. The Chavraya thought that maybe the pshat is that it's Rabbi Yehuda. Who's the Chavraya? The Bnei Yeshiva. That what's the pshat in Rav? That Rav says you can't eat the shechita on Shabbos. By the way, on Yom Kippur it sounds funny. You can't eat it on Yom Kippur. but on Shabbos you can't eat it. So that's because it's the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Gemara says, "Hey, Rabbi Yehuda, which Rabbi Yehuda are you talking about that says that you wouldn't be able to eat it that day?" Amar Rabba. Rabba says, "Rabbi Yehuda da Achana." Rabbi Yehuda that says that everything needs to be prepared before Shabbos or before Yom Tov, like what Dr. Stein mentioned, that it's like we learned in Beya. There's the Tana, and it was learned in the Mishnah that you're allowed to cut up a squash on Shabbos so that the animal can eat it, and you're allowed to cut up a nevela that died on Shabbos, a carcass, an animal died on Shabbos, for the dogs. The dogs want to eat the meat.
Feed the dogs on Shabbos?
Yeah, your own dogs.
Oh, your own dogs.
And Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi says, if the animal just died after candlelighting, after they already Shabbos came in, then you can't feed it to the dogs because because it's muktzah. When Shabbos came in, this animal was not edible, which means it has no use. No use means it's designated out. The type of muktzah means that it's designated for non-use, right? Anything that's muktzah, what's the pshat muktzah? Muktzah means that it was designated out of usage for Shabbos. Now you can't have it on Shabbos. So Rabbi Yehuda holds that you can't feed this animal to a dog because it's muktzah.
By the way, I just sent out to the chat all the Rabbi Yehudas in Tanakh, so we can figure out which Rabbi Yehuda this is.
Okay, well, this is Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Lai. This one, we're dealing
This
with
one,
now.
but it's going to name all the others.
Okay, now it says, okay, so
it says that
Hachinami.
by the way.
We'll say the same thing here. This animal was not allowed to be eaten before Shabbos. You couldn't eat it, right? Before Shabbos, it wasn't shechted. On Shabbos, it is shechted. So on Shabbos, it's muktzah. Amalei Abaya. Abaya says, "Mi dami." How can you compare these two cases? Hasam by the nevela, mi kara muchan la adam, basta muchan la klavim. Mikara muchan la adam. Originally, it was designated that it would be used for shchita, right? You were going to shecht it. Now it died, so it's muchan leklavim. But hacha mi kara muchan laadam, v'hashta muchan laadam. Saying like this, that you're changing the whole purpose of it. Originally, if the animal is alive, what are you going to do with the animal? You're going to shecht it. So who is going to use this animal? Humans. Now that it's shechted, still humans. So it should be allowed. But by over there, it was originally meant for humans, and then it died. So now it's meant for. So muchan, what was it? What was its designation? Its designation was for humans, and now all of a sudden it got designated for animals. So that means it switched. So that means it was the muktzah is that it was muktzah out. Gemara says, "Mi sabris behema b'chayel achilay medes, behema b'chayel gadlay medes." He said, "1 second. What's the comparison? While it's alive, it's not meant to be eaten. While it's alive, they're going to think that they're not shechting it yet. They think that it's going to just have to breed. It's meant for breeding.
Or to give milk.
And all of a sudden, and now you shechted it, so you switched it anyway." The Gemara says, "Yachi behema Rabbi Yehuda b'Yom Tov heche shechtinan." If that's the case, then how can you shecht an animal on Yom Tov according to Rabbi Yehuda? We know that we shecht on Yom Tov. Gemara answers, Amar Loi, Eimedes la'achila v'eimedes la'gadal. It has potential for both. Nishchata, if you shecht it, Huvra de la'achila eimedes. Then it's Huvra. Huvra is breira. Retroactive designation. it's clear that what this was meant for is that it was meant for eating. If you don't shechten, then then retroactively we can see that it was meant for breeding. The Gemara asks, well, let's lay Rabbi Yehuda Breira, but Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold a retroactive designation. So how are you saying that according to Rabbi Yehuda we're going to use retroactive designation to allow it when we know that he doesn't even hold of this? So the Gemara says like this. Where do you know that Rabbi Yehuda holds that Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold a breira? It says if you're going to say miditanya that it was taught in a brayso lekiach yain ben akutim. Someone purchases wine from amongst the kutim. Now, what's going on over here is that this Mishnah, is this a Mishnah or a brayso? It's a brayso. Miditanya, it's a brayso. That this Mishnah was taught when before the kutim's wine was considered yayin nesach. So you're allowed to buy wine from them. However, the kutim at this point, the kutim were suspected, not just for meiser, but they're even suspected that they don't take truma. Usually in Amma Aretz, we said that you have to take, it's the mai. If you buy produce from him, you don't know if he took meiser, but truma for sure he took. Because truma, the severe punishment of truma was misa b'dei shemayim, so that for sure they took, but meiser not. Meiser was more lenient. But by the kuti, we have to even suspect the truma. So you should do the following. He's going to want to drink it. He has to fix it. We're talking about that it's already Shabbos. It's right before Shabbos. Yes, on Shabbos you can't do this. He says like this: Shnei lugim shani yasad lahafer sharei and truma. There's going to be 2 lugim that I'm going to separate from this. That will be truma. 2 lugim out of 100, right? Truma is tremi meya. Truma. Asara, 10 of them is going to be meiser rishon, and then that's 10 out of 100. Tisha is going to be meiser sheni. 9 of them will be meiser sheni because you only have 90 left afterwards. Umeichal, and then you redeem the meiser sheni, okay, and then you can start drinking. Umeichal v'sheisimiya divrei Meir. That's Reb Meir's opinion, because Reb Meir holds that afterwards when you're going to designate it, so it's going to be clear that the part that you drank was not the part that was meiser, because it was retroactive designation. Later on, when you separate it, it's going to be clear that the part that you meant was going to be the one that's now in the bowl, in this container, and the part that you drank was the other one. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon say that you're not allowed to, because they hold that there is no breder, there's no retroactive designation. If you said that part of this barrel is truma, you might have just drank the truma. We're not going to say that later on. So we see that Rabbi Yehuda does not hold of brera. He says you're not allowed to do this. The Gemara says no, you got it wrong. That's not the reason for this. Hasam kediktani taima. Over there, it's because we have a reason. It says Amalai Reb Meir. They told to Reb Meir, aren't you concerned that maybe after he finishes drinking his part, then you think he's going to actually take the truma out? What might happen is that the barrel could burst, and it's everything that's left is going to fall on the floor and get wasted. Turns out you drank and you didn't even take truma, you didn't even separate the truma. So Amar Lehen, the mayor responds to them, look, you don't have to suspect that that's going to happen, because that's only if it breaks, then it's going to break. I guess this is something that usually Reb Meir is chayesh lamuta, but here it must be so far fetched that it's not. Reb Meir isn't even chayesh to this. So we don't have a source now that Rabbi Yehuda holds. Of brera. Elamasnis elamidatani ayay. Rather, we're going to learn the brera from what ayay taught. Ayay is the name of a person.
I like the comment. Amalan kishiyavaka. In other words, we'll worry about that bridge when we cross it. It's so rare. Interesting.
The Tani Ayai, because Ayai taught Rabbi Yehuda Aimer Eina the Masnal Shnei Devarim Kecha. A person can't make a condition on two things. We're talking about in Erevin. Ela and Bachacham leMizrach Eruv leMizrach leMayrav Eruv leMayrav Bil lekan lekan light. Says there's a Mishnah in Erevin that it says a person can put. It's talking about walking 2,000 amas out of the city. He doesn't know. He knows that the Chacham is going to come, but he doesn't know to which side of the city is going to give his share. So he wants to be able to go. So he puts one on the one side of 2,000 amas on the east, and puts 2,000 amas to the west. It says if the Chacham comes to the east, then I'll have that area. If it goes to the west, I'll have that area.
So that's a Lamafrey example.
Right. So the way it would work is that with Brera, that later on it's gonna okay. So Ayai says that Rabbi Yehuda argues on this. So that means Rabbi Yehuda won't hold of Brera. So it says Eina the Masal Sheidavam Kachad Ela Imba Rabbi Yehuda Aimer Eina the Masal Sheidavam. This is all Rabbi Yehuda, that a person can't make a condition to two things. Elam Bachach leMizrach Eruv leMizrach leMayrav Eruv leMayrav Bil lekan lekan lai. You have to do it only one. Can't do for both. Why can't you do to both places? They ain't brera. So it says Mizrach Ma'ariv Nami ain't brera. So what did he mean when you said that you can do if the Chacham comes to the east, you can put it there. If it comes to the west, how did he translate that? It would only be if you don't know which side he is. So you wanted to walk an extra 2,000 amas. So if that already happened, so then and you put it there and you know that he was already on one side, you just didn't know, so that's already established. But if something that's going to happen tomorrow, that we don't say.
What do you mean if something that happened to him? That's the case. We don't know what's going to happen until it happens.
The case when it did work was if a Chacham came already, and it's 4,000 amas away. Yeah. So he wants to be able to go to him. So he walks 2,000 amas and put it down. It says if he's 4,000 amas this way, it should work. We know he's there already. We just don't know which side.
Then what?
So then he's allowed to do it.
If he knows he's there on the east.
No, he doesn't know he's on the east.
He just knows he's in the town
outside the city. He's outside the area. Yeah,
within 4,000.
Right.
So he puts it
right.
at each 2,000, two different columns.
Right.
Elvis has not met.
So it comes out that one second, but we see Rabbi Yehuda actually doesn't hold of Brera. Let me see your translation over here because I want to see how it concludes that.
You can touch in the Gemara and then the Papa.
So it says, Aya's statement is clarified. So Amar Rabbi Yochanan is Kvar B'Chacham. It's not a case of retroactive determination. It has now been conclusively established that Rabbi Yehuda rejects the principle of Brera. This being so what are we going to go back? We're going to have to go back to Rav Abba. Rav Abba said that the reason why you're not allowed to eat this is according to Rabbi Yehuda, and because not allowed to eat the animal that was shechted. Oh, the question is how are you allowed to shecht on Yom Tif? Because if you're shechting on Yom Tif, then it's going to be it's muktzah, and if the only way to shecht would be if it's breira. Yeah. Which means that we now have to go back earlier when Rav says that you're not allowed to eat it on Shabbos. We said that it must be the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda that holds that it's because of its muktzah. So we have to reject that as well, because if Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold a breira, then you'll never be able to shecht on Yom Tov. So we're going to need a new reason for why you can't eat the meat the shechted on Shabbos. Okay, let's leave it over here. We're holding by Ella on Yudal and Bez. It's 10 lines from the top. Elam Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda the Kelemi.
Oh,
Okay, Shkoyach, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful Shabbos.
We don't take Shabbos in that early.
Yeah, well,
oh.
I hope to see you.
Okay.
Okay. Joseph.